All right, we're live. What a day it's playing out to be. Not financial advice, for educational purposes only, as always. We got the break of the weekly pivot. That was my pre-market talk, my pre-market notes. Hey, this is your bull bear line, 29,566. We broke. We've been all the way to 29,210, which is basically the daily S2 on the NQ if you follow those levels. I think it missed it by 30 points. Now, the biggest deciding factor is, hey, Phil, good morning, is can we get back onto this 336 area? We're having trouble. That's S1 on the monthly. We need to reclaim that to find some traction. If we do, it'll look better. And if we don't, then that's going to be the headache rack, the proverbial headache rack moving forward. So that's what I'm watching. And right now, the high of this hourly candle that I'm watching is currently 329.75, and 336 is our pivot, and we can just not get any traction to the upside. So SMH, we know that it's down 5.5% right now. And thank AMD, MU, all the semiconductor chips that everybody overran, and now they're kind of coming back in. What I'm noticing is Nvidia is still holding very solid today at 192, not wanting to give up to the downside. So keep that in mind. Please be aware of the ones that don't fall when the market is falling, and Nvidia is one of those. But SMH, I told you that was one of my main watches this morning, just to give me an overall market direction on the Q. And we have a monthly S2 pivot, which we know that it holds that 90% of the time or closes above it at 563.42. The low has been 566.83 on SMH. So we missed it by about $3. What I'm looking for is if we can reclaim our monthly S1, which we know that this 29,300 area has been a huge area last month and this month. So last month on our pivot that we had, which was at around 305, our monthly S1, you can see that was the bottom all through the end of June. Now we have new pivots. They're not far off, just based on how we calculate them and where they started and stopped. But 336 is that major level. Well, we know that the beginning of July 2nd, that's where the major bounce was, that Thursday at the close. And I missed that. Phil, I was on the phone with you driving home from some of my kids' activities. And I didn't get home till it was about 500 or so. And so I did not partake in this massive bounce. Wish I'd have been here. I would have. But I like to be in front of my screens when I take trades. It's just kind of a discipline thing that I've learned over time. I'm either 100% focused or I'm not. So right now, this major level at 319, I will show you SMH as well. And that is the big story, down 5.39%. And my chart did not change. There it goes. I guess I'm streaming too much for my Apple right now. You can see this 563.42 is S2. And we know that that holds, or we close above that on a monthly closing basis about 90% of the time. And we missed it by about $3 so far. Not to say that it doesn't find more. Over here on my weekly, we're trying to reclaim this 571, which is the weekly S2. And it also has amazing statistics that for the week, we typically close above that, right around that 90% range as well. So these are just areas of severe weakness that either it's time to capitalize on if we can get back into some buy zones there, or it's going to continue to roll over. And like I said, the one thing that I had talked about pre-market and the one that I've been watching pretty closely, because we are on our yearly pivots, 189 is the yearly pivot. We are staying on top of that with Nvidia. And for SMH to be down almost 6%, and it was down 6% earlier, Nvidia is holding very, very well. And it's just in this major consolidation phase. When you look at it on larger time frames, it's traded like this 170 to 210 box for quite some time. So I believe if you are an investor, that is one that has to be at the top of your list, looking forward for potential profit opportunities, maybe some leaps, shares, whatever you like to do, basic call credit spreads, whatever you're into. But that is something that I've been paying attention to. You've got MU, so the ones that are getting shaken out, and it didn't trigger my alert. I even put my alert right above the S2 on the monthly, but we got right to it. That low 891 and my pivots at 888. So these are for the month. Statistically, we are down here. Now on MU, you need to see a reclaim of 937 to continue higher. If we do not get that, there's no reason to chase right now. But statistically, on the monthlies, we are in a position for some of those major names. Like I said, MU, AMD, I don't know if TSM's had problems, Avgo, some of the other big names within SMH that is driving this market. TSM is also down 4.5%, so it's had a hard day. It's trying to get back up over the weekly S1. So that's your bull bear line right there at 431.66. And Avgo, I did put some alerts on this last night just to keep me informed. We were playing around this monthly pivot, and I wanted to see how we did there. It was sitting on top of it for a while, but I knew today would be a little treacherous at the open, so that's why I just watched the NQ bull bear line that I laid out pre-market and in notes to say, hey, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Right here, the weekly. Let me open that up bigger so you can see it. Phil, I hope you're doing well today, which I'm sure you are. Right here, this was the bull bear line. This 29,566, and the first 15-minute candle was here, and I always like to let them get that out of their system. You can see we looked above and then immediate failure. And once you fail and you run away, there's no reason to try to fight that to the long side, in my opinion, until we reclaim it as far as for that particular level. But we know the time frame that I love the most and that I follow very closely is the monthly. This 336 area has to reclaim and become support. And if it does, you definitely have to look higher. You can't look at it any other direction because there's just no reason to fight that if we are holding this 29,336 for support. If that does not hold or it breaks to the downside, then you're wrong. It's that easy. So just keep that in mind. We're trading 352 right now. We'll see if this hourly candle, which we're new into the hour, we're only 15 minutes, how it kind of progresses and plays out. If we can get up here above and then get a decent retest just to see how it holds, or if we just wick above it and fell and continue lower. I don't see anything else that's really jumping off of my screen right now. Like I said, I know that SMH is at its -2. I know the QQQ and is at its -1 for the month and the week. So they're not really trying to do anything crazy right now. 703.21 was the Q. Great place to sell, put credit spreads. And then if it breaks that, you're wrong. And you look for that to hold moving forward. And if you look, this 703.21 on the Q is the way the pivot's calculated. It just happened to line up. It doesn't have anything to do with this, but it did happen to line up with these bottoms from last week. So just something to keep in mind there. And as you can see, maybe we retest the 705.95 area on the Q and we can look higher or continue the breakdown. So just for me currently, my main watch is that 300 level on the NQ because that's what is going to matter. And it is currently going to chop fest in here, which that's normal. There's a lot of volume here, a lot of wicks from last month. that, you know, this was a demand zone for sure, is that this month, well, we're going to figure it out here sooner rather than later, because this will either reclaim and take off higher, or it will fail and continue lower. The first target lower that I would consider would be this 29,050, just for easy math, 29,050. That's your weekly S1 on the NQ. If you're trading NQ futures, micros, minis, anything that you could be doing, that would be your first target. The 330 needs to reclaim 340. We can just call it 350. So it's easy to say the 350 needs to reclaim. And then your first target to the upside would be 29,566. Until we can get a definite answer here, there's no reason to fight it or guess. We can't get back above 336. Right now, it's currently resistance. I'll zoom in on that candle. And you can see that it doesn't act as if it wants to get up there currently. That'll be my line in the sand moving forward. I will not want to be bullish personally until we reclaim and test this level. Now, not to say that I won't be bullish if we get to, or at least a scalp buyer, I shouldn't say bullish, a scalp buyer at 29,050. I will definitely do that. But currently, this is definitely a headwind. You can see that pivot level was massive support there for that Thursday sell-off we had into the holiday weekend, when the cash was not open Friday, but the futures were, and we had this just bleed up. Well, we're right back down here. And now, if we cannot get over that level, there's no reason to fight that on the long side. You just have to wait. You either have to wait for another support to come into play, or you have to take a short, just however you like to play it. I always do pay attention to the 1030 time frame, which we are coming into. That's Central Time. That's the European close. And I like to see how our markets react once they kind of get out of the way. So that'll be on my radar here in about 10, 12 minutes. But the longer we sit here at this 300 and don't just continue to crash lower, it's not a bad look, but we really need to get back on top of that pivot to think that we can change a little bit of this momentum that this market has been carrying for a while. And I touched on all that this morning, saying, hey, the Russell and the Dow, they can try to lead everything they want, but they might as well just get in the back of the truck, because they're not the drivers of this market. Right here is the driver of the market. Whatever SMH, the NQ, XLK does, that's what the S&P is going to do. They try to kind of prop the Dow up and the Russell, and then give the appearance the S&P will just kind of sit neutral. And it does until we have 700 down points on the Q. Then the Dow and the Russell start falling as well. The VIX is another thing that's been kind of just different, I would say. You can see it's been stuck in this range. Oh no. Did I cut out? No, I'm okay. I heard my computer rev down. It's been stuck in this range between 15 and 17, 1565 and 17. And it's just been playing in here. You don't want to see it break out above 1711, because it's going to go higher. We're currently 1643, up 5% on the day for VIX. So the Dow was green this morning. Now the Dow is down 200 points. Okay, still looks a lot better on the chart than the Q though, right? We're holding pivot levels to the upside that have been bullish, like completely different look from what the Q has given. The S&P is going to be more neutral, down 0.7, but it is breaking this monthly pivot at 75.43 and a quarter. That's, pay attention. You start getting below all of our main pivots on the month, there is absolutely no reason to try to battle with that if it is going to continue lower. And you just wait for supports on the weekly is what I do. So I post those to my subscribers. I post the monthly at the beginning of every month. I post the weekly at the beginning of every week. They come out at 5 p.m. Sunday, and that's Central Standard Time when the futures market opens. I post them. Hey, mark these on your chart. They're very important levels. This is why. They are the spots to know what this market is going to do, and at least not be caught off sides. If you're off sides, you know it really quick because we have the levels. What you do not want to do is guess that things are going to happen that may or may not happen. I like definitive answers. Everybody wants to know bullish or bearish. I just need a level. That's all I need to trade this and be effective with it. The bias has got me in a lot of trouble. And Phil can tell you the same. We are usually correct, but we're early. So anytime that we make plays just based off of bias, it usually plays out, but it takes longer than you want it to. And depending on your positioning, that can be hurtful. Well, right now, the only bias I have is this 29,336 and the target that I gave on each side of that, which was basically 550 and 29,050. One of those two will come from this target right here, from this line. And right now, we cannot gain traction over this line to look higher. So I'm not particularly trying to take a short right here today at this moment, even though that could be the play of the day. I'm not saying it's not. I always want to be very neutral on that. I'm just personally not trying. I am just watching to see if we can regain, or if not, I will watch for that 29,050 to come into play to take a long. So those are the things I'm watching. Phil, I don't know what you're trying to play today. I know where you're at with the NQ and the ES. I'm assuming you still have that. But other than that, when I look at Meta and Google and all the players that play, you can see that even though the semiconductors are having this bleed, these names that have corrected really hard, like Meta and Microsoft, are just doing okay. They're holding in there today. And I'm just curious to see if later on we don't get an all-together rally, because Microsoft's up, Meta's up, and Apple is barely up. So it's just such a tale of two tapes right now. But the driver, the one that is influencing it all, is SMH. The semiconductor chips are all that matter, and that's why I'm watching them so closely. If they find traction, I do not see a reason the whole market doesn't find traction. If they continue to die and these other names continue to start rolling back over, so a Microsoft, a Meta, Apple rolls over, Google rolls over, NVIDIA actually starts rolling over instead of sitting here trading sideways, then we know the Q and the S&P have no chance of doing anything but going with them. If they continue to hold and the NASDAQ continues to kind of do what it's doing, because it's just trading this range, then you kind of have to look at things a little different and just play the level and know that if we find traction above the 330 level on NQ, you look higher. Until then, you do not. So I said a lot to just say that. 336, can we get a 350 and move? Or do we continue this bleed down and look for the 29,050 as a good buy zone? When I look at my daily pivots on the NQ, and I can switch my screen to that. I've got them on another screen over here. 171 is the S2 with an overshoot at 28.7. So that 171 almost came into play there earlier, but I'm not here personally to kind of scalp every little move. I do that occasionally. I did that yesterday. just because that's with the little melt that it had, that's about all you could do. I sold some put credit spreads and did a few things there just to make a few dollars, but I'm kind of looking for a bigger level to leverage off of and take a bigger swing. And right now, losing this 300 area, if we do, and can't regain it, that for me is just, hey, I'm going to wait. Like, I just know that it's time for me not to try to leverage into something and buy calls or whatever, right? Take some NQ contracts long. I might scalp some of those down here off of some of these smaller levels, but I don't normally do that. I put out the daily levels every day for free on my Substack at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Central. When my futures open, I post the daily levels. You can use those as a great guide. And I actually have a guide there that shows you the percentages of how accurate they are. And they're just, I mean, if you're a day trader, that's what you want to look at. That and my 4-hour pivots. And I broadcast those live a lot. I stream those in my Discord. I have a few people in there that use them. I take screenshots and put them in my Discord just so people have them and they can use that to your advantage. I have guys that only trade the 4-hour pivot, and the 4-hour did go right down to its overshoot and regain it. So those are things that, depending on your style, my style is, hey, I want to buy X amount of calls or sell X amount of put credit spreads at a level, or buy puts, whatever, sell call credit spreads at a level and let that work against that major level. And right now we are at a major level, but we are under it. So, and like I said, I'm not looking to short it. We're down 2% on the day. So like I always used to ask Phil when we were first started trading many, many moons ago, and you learn that, well, is it already down 643 points or is it only down 643 points? Because I've seen that go both ways. I've seen, hey, we're already down that much and we get a bounce. And I've also seen we're only down that much and we continue lower. So do not make assumptions based on moves. Make assumptions based on levels on the chart. And currently, we are to a major level. So that's why I wanted to jump on live and say, hey, this is what I'm watching. SMU is down at its monthly R2. That's important because statistically, outside of everything else that we want to talk about, statistically, it doesn't stay down here. And I'll just throw up the last years. Here, I'll put it on like a three-year time frame if my computer will generate it. Yeah, so when I look at this, what this tells me up here at the top is for the last 3 years, which is 40 monthly periods it's analyzing, a little over 3 years. S2 on the monthly, we have closed above it 100% of the time. So when I go back 3 years, there's not going to be a spot on this chart where the monthly closed below S3. Now, does it go below S3? Absolutely. You can see right here went below S3 all the way to the overshoot level. But where did it close the month? That was from 175. It closed the month at 209. Last 3 years, it has never closed below S3. And that's why I say play it level to level, and their support until proven otherwise and their resistance till proven otherwise. Just like this month right here. Do we have this kind of month coming? I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you how to play it. It's one line at a time. We have a breakdown. We cut through S3 almost to our overshoot, but so this is now resistance and this is support until proven otherwise. Look what we do. The next 2 days, we sit right on it and we take off. So that's what I'm watching for right now. Because you're telling me out of 40 months, we have not closed below this S2 level. That's exactly what I'm telling you. 100% of the time over 40 months, S2, we have closed above it on a monthly closing basis. Does that mean that we do not break 563? No, that does not what that means. What that means, and I'm just looking to see where the Q is right now. What that means is for the month, we're going to close above it. So right now, 563 is support until proven otherwise on SMH. If we break through that, you do not want to be bullish until we reclaim it with support. Can we go find the overshoot at 527? Maybe. Another 50 points? Maybe. How many times have we reached that overshoot in 40 months? 2.5% of the time have we reached it. So there's a 97.5% chance we do not go down there, that we don't touch it. That's why those statistics are very powerful. And that's what I'm saying. We're kind of down here for the month on SMH. Like we're down here. Statistically speaking, not Dave speaking, statistically speaking. Hey, this is a spot that we close above. What did I say? 100% of the time. 40 months. Now, stats are made to be broken. Records are made to be broken, right? That is not a guarantee at all. What that tells me is I want to use 563 for support. Every month it has been a major level, right? Depending on which level you look or which month you look at, we do not close below it. And what I'm calculating statistically is where we close on the month. Sorry, my young son is doing a little screaming in the background. I've got several children in this house, and it's 6,500 square feet, and I still can't find a quiet spot. So bear with me there. But yes, Liam, let's just see what he needs. Hey, buddy. Stuck. You got stuck? Yeah, I heard that. All right. Daddy'll be out in a little bit. Yeah, I heard you. He's 2. He's my youngest. I've got 9. So just like I said, bear with me. But what I'm telling you is if this doesn't hold a support 563, there's a 100% chance currently that we close above it. Now, am I just going to blindly bet my house down here on S3? No. Would I be a massive buyer of S3? Yes, but then that would become my bull bear line at 527. If I'm down here buying it, hey, I've got to hold this level, and this is my first target. We break above it, then I just keep looking higher. That's how these work. They are support until proven otherwise on the downside. Once they are broken, they become resistance. Let me see if I can find a good example of that on the upside for you. Kind of this, once they break right here, and this was a gap, so it's kind of a bad example, but this is now your support until proven otherwise. So every time it wicks down here, it doesn't cut through it. That's kind of how we're watching this. This is support unless we break it. Then it's going to be resistance until we get a reclaim and a hold of that level. So a lot going on, a lot being thrown at the market right now between the war headlines, the leverage unwind in Korea that's been happening. I think I seen it was down 7 or 8% again overnight. So no surprise the market's having a hard day. What is interesting about all that is you say, well, what is not really going with the trend? And that's NVIDIA for an SMH for semiconductors. So what that tells me is this is going to be a leader when semiconductors come back. This is who's going to lead the charge, NVIDIA. It's not getting smashed like TSM. Avgo's already been crushed. AMD, MU, those names that are having these major sell-offs are not really the ones I'm going to be looking, because this is like the beach ball that you try to push underwater that will not go underwater. And that's currently what it is doing. It is saying, hey, I'm not going down. I'm staying up. So it's like pressure builds. And when that decides to go, this whole market's going to go. with it, either whether that's up or down, but I'm definitely paying attention to that for the upside. Let me go look here. Let's go back and check on our Q. Just dancing around this level, which is very, very expected today. We got down here a lot to digest for it. Like I said, there were several days last month that was support the previous pivot. And like I said, they don't line up exact. You can see, depending on our calculations and where price and time start, that's where we project our pivots out. But major difference in a bull trend market, we hold the pivot, daily pivot or the monthly pivot, green momentum candles, and it just rips. Same thing here. This was the war headlines. We get all the way down here to S2, and then we have a rip. Let's talk about statistically. S2 for the last 3 years on the NASDAQ, which is 28,179, has held 97.5% of the time. That's 40 months. S1, we have closed above it 97.5. So the last 3 years, you can tell that it has been nothing but a rip to the upside. Does that change today? Who knows? This month could. 3 years of data, and let's just take it out to 10 years so we can get maybe a clearer picture of a little better statistic. There we go. In 10 years, for 10 years, S1, we've closed above it 87.9% of the time. So irregardless of where we go today from this pivot, we know on a closing basis by the end of the month, 87, let's call it 88% because it's 87.9. 88% of the time we close above S1, which for this month is 29,336. S2 at 28,179 for 10 years worth of data, 124 months. We close above it 95.2% of the time on a 10-year closing basis. So, 10 years, 200 or 124 months. That just tells you statistically where we are on the month. That's not to say this level breaks, we can't get back above, which is what it's doing now, that we don't go find 28.1, just like we did here last month. Here was last month. Massive red candle, played with the pivot, never could close above it, went all the way down, and we were calling this out right here, this 28,190 level. This is a buy opportunity. Both times it got here, huge buy opportunity. And you can see the rip that it had. Keep those things in mind when you look at these pivots. We don't want to guess. We just want to take action based off of levels. And right now, there's a lot of people that have all kinds of bullish and bearish leans. That's not what I do. I try to be as neutral as I can and just watch the levels play. And currently, we're going back down to that 4-hour overshoot at 243.85 area. So for an intraday play, that is a big level, but that's kind of why I watched the 1030. We got to 1030. Europe's trying to get out of the way, and we still have quite a bit of weakness so far. Keep those things in mind as you finish out the last 3-4 hours of the day of the cash session anyway. No traction. If we could have got back on that level, that would have been a good look. If not, now we're looking down toward 29,050, 29050. And I just sit here idle because I'm not trying to step out and catch a falling knife unless we have a level to support that. And like I said, this 29,243 is a level, and it bounced off of it. So that is part of what could happen. But at the end of the day, and I'm sorry, I'm just answering messages that I'm getting about the live right now. At the end of the day, we just want to see this thing make a decision here and see if it wants to find some traction, if SMH can find traction, or are we going to continue to roll over and die a death by 1,000 cuts or by 1,000 sell orders every second? I'm not sure. The VIX is still sitting here neutral. I mean, it's up 5%, but it hasn't broke over 17, trading 1643. Google, Meta, Microsoft, Apple, green. So IGV is green. And I just find that almost like a strategy the market could be using to sell this thing off without affecting the market a lot. They sold off Microsoft, they killed all the software names, absolutely killed them and let the chips run. Now we're getting software names coming back to life, and some of the chips are dying, except for NVIDIA. Remember, you heard it here first. I know a lot of people love NVIDIA. I'm not necessarily in love with any stock, but I am in love with the fact that it's holding that yearly pivot and refusing to partake in a massive sell day on the NQ. That always gets my attention. And it's been doing that for a while. Phil, buy some NVIDIA, my man. Phil will do it. He's not scared. He's been trading for longer than I've been alive, I think. Or as long as I've been alive anyway. I won't say he's too old, but he trades commodities. And if you trade commodities, you know that you are not scared, or that he's not, because those things are a tough thing to trade, in my opinion. It rains in Brazil and prices change. The wind blows somewhere else in another country and the prices change. It's just a bizarre world to me. I don't know how he does that, and it's been successful at it for so long, because it's like trying to micromanage cats, like trying to herd cats. Every little thing, it goes a different direction, and you don't even know what that thing is. Brazil had a good crop or a better than average rainfall. It's just always something. So we let Phil handle that. And I just trade levels, and he does too, but he uses that to his advantage. And my goodness, this is going to be a painful day if it just sits here all day. When we don't see a reaction from a pivot, it's what I call like snuggling up to a pivot. When we get down here and all we do is snuggle up, I don't love that. What you want to see is this, a bounce. You don't want to see price and this pivot become friends. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for a change of direction. That's how I make money. A change of pace, a change of idea. You counterpunch it. And right now, they want to be friends. They're talking. They are just talking about hanging out instead of, hey, I'll catch you later, and we're either heading south in a hurry or we're going to reclaim and head north. I don't like them being friends. I want them to be big time enemies and run away from each other. Price run away from the pivot, and that just gives you great direction. And as you can see, we're peaking back above. We've been here before. Does that mean that it does everything we want it to do? No. Sorry. But what it does mean is that we can use this to our advantage to see what type of move that it could potentially have here, and if it wants to get moving or continue to die. SMH, talk to me, SMH. It's breaking above. Okay, so that's kind of a little development on SMH. It is trying to push. It broke above the 572 area. on my weekly pivots. The weekly pivot was 571.75. It got above that, and it's now actually trying to, like I said, not be friends, not hang out, and head north. And if that does that, if SMH heads north, it will be a big day for a change of pace right here on the NQ. And it'll help everybody. It'll help the ES. It'll help the Dow. It'll help everybody's feelings for that to happen. And if not, we start breaking back down, then we're just going to be in a love fest down here between price and pivot, which is not, as a actual trader, what you want to do. You want to see a hold and go or a break and fail. Doesn't matter to me which way it does. I just wanted to do it. If anybody wants anything looked at, you can put it in the chat and I will take a look at it. Any tickers, you name it, I can look at it. I should have been, who was it I reviewed last night? Was it Tesla? One of these names was a perfect buy opportunity. No, it wasn't Tesla. Tesla kind of having a rough day still, not wanting to take off. You can see running into that monthly pivot, 421.46. We had a great fake out there, and I think there was some kind of news, but I love how they wick everybody into continuation and they kill it. But if you're us, you're buying it here around this 421 level. You're not trying to chase that for no reason. So you would have been probably on a weekly standpoint taking profit, some profit here. And then your stop is at 421 and you don't care that this happened, but can't reclaim it. Not a good look for Tesla until it does on the monthly side. There's no reason to think about it any other way until it gets down into some of these other targets. If we look at it on a weekly, where was the big shindig wick there? Yeah, so on the weekly, that shows you we were above that big wick that I just showed you. We were above the overshoot on Tesla. So that's just a big warning sign to say, hey, I'm not trying to, there's not a lot of meat left on the bone. We probably only close up here about 4% of the time for the week. So why would I not take profit up here? And then you can see where we are now, but it might go higher. Yeah, it might have, and it could have, but if you're playing the right spots, it doesn't matter. You took your however much percent and you ran with it. 361, got a little double wick area there at 380. So we'll see. I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's trying to push through the pivot. We've got 20 minutes left on this candle. For me personally, do we close above it and then hold it for support, or do we just, like I said, continue to be friends down here? Which either way, it's just kind of what you do. All right, well, if nobody has anything they want looked at, like I said, if you want something to be viewed on the pivots, I will do it. I'm going to end it there. So, you know, my watch, this 336, and we are breaking back below it as I speak. So that is what I will be paying attention to and seeing if that hourly candle, if we can find some support or if we continue to fail. All eyes on SMH as well. If SMH gets going, we know where the whole market's going. But like I said, with that, I will hop off here. Been on here 45 minutes. And as always, we will talk soon.